I want to do a quick series of talks, right, about the childish toys that we refuse to put away even after we progress into adulthood. See, we put our baby dolls away, we put our action figures away, we stop playing imaginary basketball games where we drop 40 in the driveway, but we never really stop pretending. We never stop imagining. We never stop going into the recepts of our imagination and experiencing the euphoria of everything being exactly what we'd have it be, even though we often don't know what it requires for us to actually be happy and satisfied. That's evident in our life because we have always thought we were able to tell people and ourselves what it took for us to be happy and satisfied, but we hardly have ever been. So from that, we can conclude that we have a fundamental issue of not being aware of what it is that we actually want, though we think we know. And we forget that almost daily. We forget that we really don't know what we like. We just like what we know and refuse to experience other things. So we continually recreate our past experiences and say that we want change and we are after something different. And we blame the elements and the environment and the people around us and our surroundings and the places that we frequent for why we don't experience change and a difference. When really the issue is everywhere we go, we take our broken lens. Everywhere we go, we take our childish toys. We are no different than the toddler that walks around with his favorite blanket in the middle of the grocery store, even though he's not about to take a nap. It's literally just for comfort. It's literally just because it's mine and I don't want to depart with it. And if you try to take it from me, then I will hold on to it with dear life. I will defend it with my entire existence, and I will scream, kick, and throw a fit until I cry myself to sleep. Now, that's not how you see your toys. That's not how you see your relationship with your toys. But that is the reality of the way that you utilize your toys and the function that your toys and my toys that we refuse to put away and separate ourselves from, even though we recognize at this point that they have been the vein of our existence and the very cause of our discomfort. We are creatures of habit instead of creatures of creation, as we should be for the most part. And it's not because we've changed our identity, it's because we're unaware of our true identity that we've settled for something much less. So the first psychological childhood toy that you refuse and I refuse to put away is the ostrich effect. The imitation of the ostrich that was misrepresented by ancient myths to have buried his head in the sand and now has become a common metaphor used for a person who is deliberately and intentionally refusing to acknowledge facts. I don't want to see. I don't want to know. I'd rather operate inside of the anxiety of I don't know rather than to know and know that the truth of the matter is something that I did not want it to be. It is very, very common, and it comes from our childhood. It is a toy from our childhood that we refuse to put away. We commonly, intentionally keep things outside of our sense of awareness so that we can continue inside of the illusion that we are okay. I used the example today when talking to a brother of mine. When your mother does the things that your ex-girlfriend did in the past, you broke up with your ex-girlfriend, you never talked to her again, you replaced her. But when your mother did it, you made an excuse for her, you tried to correct your mother, you justified it, and you made amends with your mother. Your ex-girlfriend abused you and said she did it because she cared, and you said she was lying, and she never cared about you. Your mother misused you, mismanaged you, and said she did it because she was trying to make sure that the best came to you, and she said she did it because she cared, and you said she did. So what's the difference? Is there a difference? In principle, there's absolutely no difference, but you'll tell yourself that there's a difference because you know to tell yourself what you told yourself about your ex-girlfriend pertaining to your mother would crash your entire core belief system. And you ain't got time for that. You got stuff to do today and tomorrow. In The Art of Seduction, Robert Greene mentions that it is impossible to seduce anybody that doesn't want to be seduced. When a woman is with a man and she's satisfied and happy and she has no desire to be unfaithful, no matter how rich that man is, no matter how poor her man is, no matter how dissatisfied she is on that day with her life, she's not going to seek the attention or find interest in some man passing by. But the same is true for when you're talking to yourself. The same is true for your inner dialogue. You can't be seduced into an illusion unless you want to be seduced. And when you want to be seduced, you know what it takes and you step out of the way and you removed your attention from facts and analytical research of actual reality, and you go into the recepts of your imagination and you create the perfect storm. You've been friends with people who you know didn't reciprocate the type of energy and effort, time and attention and love and affection that you put into that relationship, and you pulled the ostrich effect, buried your head in the sand, and eventually you came to a moment in that relationship that was catastrophic and had effects on your emotional and psychological well-being because you refused to acknowledge and act on what you saw at one point previously. The worst thing about the ostrich effect is when we don't take accountability for the fact that we saw what was coming before it came and we blame the other person for the damage done. If I saw the train coming and I stood on the tracks and waited for it to hit me, how can I blame the conductor of the train? The horn was blowing profusely. There were signs. You call them red flags, but me, I find it weird that you walk around in such a state of judgment that when you see things in people that are a reflection of you, you perceive them as something other than yourself, and you reject those who are trying to show you who you are on the inside. You haven't been running away from weird people. You've been running away from the weirdness in yourself that the people in front of you reflect to you. But because you don't understand how the universe works and you don't understand that you're always standing in the mirror, you constantly embarrass yourself and act like when you're judging others and explaining how awkward and backwards other people are, that you're not talking directly about yourself. So when you're talking about someone who does not know that all judgment that does not come from a state of love returns back to the sender, then you are dealing with a child, you are dealing with a fool, and you are dealing with one that it is said to be better to have tied a log to your leg and thrown yourself in the ocean than to have misled and mismanaged your influence and time around this person. So today, can we load the ostrich effect into the chest? Can we make the commitment to ourselves to be open and honest with ourselves about the reality of ourselves? Can we be committed to facts and not fantasy? Can we openly assess where we are, what we are, and what our presentation has been so that we can make the progress and change that it is that we've been desiring? Can we eradicate our incessant need to lie to ourselves, to be illusionarily comforted by the idea that once again we've saved ourselves with a desperate definition, or by playing the blame game once again? The ostrich effect leaves us in a perpetual wheel of dysfunction, because any dysfunction that you will not address, you cannot change. If you won't see it and you won't see the lack of value operating in this way it has for you, then you will continue in it like in